The man owns a magical shop, which not only allows him to exchange various god-level items, but also allows him to learn many powerful skills. In an age of monsters, this undoubtedly gives him strength comparable to that of a 3S-level hunter. 30 years ago, monsters invaded the human world on a large scale, bringing unprecedented disaster to mankind. However, for hunters with awakened abilities, disasters are also opportunities. They gain great wealth and immortal life from them, which makes hunter a dream profession for many people. Hunters are divided into levels from SSS to Giant, and the abilities of the Giant are almost the same as those of ordinary people. The girl in front of him was named Chinmei. After several level assessments, she was still unable to break through the level of B-level hunter. Finally, she realized that level improvement could not be achieved simply through training. When she was confused, suddenly an urgent mission attracted her attention. A level 1 monster appeared in the eastern part of the city, requiring nearby level 1 hunters to go out immediately. This monster, called the Spiky Bull Monster, has the power to destroy the entire city. Faced with the monster's attack, the citizens fled. At this time, a man was protecting the child in front of him. When the monster's attack was about to fall, a bolt of lightning suddenly came and hit the monster's bullhead. It turned out that the B-rank girl had arrived at the scene, but her attack did not cause any damage to the monster, but instead angered it. The monster raised its fist and hit hard, knocking the girl dozens of meters away. This is the huge gap between a level 1 hunter and a level B hunter. The girl looked at the man and decided to do her best to cover his evacuation. Although she wasn't sure how long she could hold out, she was determined to destroy all the monsters. At this moment, a roar came from her mouth, and a deafening voice rang in her mind, as if summoning some kind of power. Index finger of God. In an instant, the power in her body began to boil. Along with it came a powerful force of thunder and lightning, which burst out from her body and instantly formed a blue beam of light that rushed into the sky. Soon after, the crowd in the ruins burst into cheers. Looking at the defeated monster, the girl realized that she had just broken through some kind of limit. Just as she had an epiphany, the man walked up to her and thanked her. But when he left, the girl suddenly recalled the voice she had heard in her mind, and that voice seemed to come from that man. She began to wonder who this man was. Even though he is a giant-level hunter, and logically speaking his strength is not outstanding, he has a god-level shop comparable to that of a 3S-level hunter. His index finger is powerful enough to destroy an army of ants, his middle finger can summon the fire of hell for judgment, and his ring finger can heal all wounds. For this reason, he calls them God's 5 fingers. A few days ago, this man was an ordinary online novel writer who was troubled by his inability to write articles. By chance, he found an unfamiliar software and clicked on it. A treasure chest with fangs appeared on the screen, and then an ant walked into the picture. Although he couldn't understand the words on it, the man couldn't help but click on it. The next second, the ant was poked to death, and a gold coin jumped out of the screen. The man then realized that he might have awakened the hunter's ability. So he went to the hunter school for an ability assessment, thinking that he would awaken powerful abilities and reach the peak of his life. But the result disappointed him, as what he awakened was his ability of material production. He decided to take a break and tried to write after returning home, but still made no progress. Finally, he picked up his phone and frantically clicked on the ants to vent his dissatisfaction. As the man kept clicking, the number of gold coins increased rapidly. The next morning, he found that the gold coins on the ground had become 100. He was very confused, so he looked at his phone. The screen clearly read, "Congratulations, you have met the conditions for the unknown goddess to open a store. Please make a choice." He chose yes, without hesitation. At the same time, at the hunter conference, the crowd was boiling and everyone was cheering. Finally, someone awakened the ability to open a hunter shop. This is an extremely rare type among creative hunters, which means that he will be able to purchase items and skills of different levels. At this time, the abilities of the creative hunter and the spiritual hunter Chinmei were hotly discussed, and people began to look forward to the hunter shop. The interior of the store displays a variety of props from A level to S level, and the hunters on the scene have decided to protect them closely. The shop that the man opened was actually filled with strange items. Just an S-level hunter shop has already made the whole country crazy. If a god-level shop that surpasses the SSS level appears one day, it will definitely cause a global shock. Curiosity drove him to continue exploring the store, and he soon discovered that the items inside were all kinds of god-level props, which were jaw-dropping. However, the prices were extremely outrageous, and he found that he could only save 300 gold coins in one night. At this moment, the screen flickered and the picture automatically stopped at one place. The man saw that it seemed to be a reminder for him to buy a certain item. So he decided to buy it, and chose the glasses of the blind god. Then, a detailed explanation appeared on the screen. Blindness? Isn't this just a blind person? What's the use of a blind person's eyes? Before he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly turned pale and he lost his vision instantly. The man panicked, but accidentally bumped into the corner of the table, and the severe pain immediately restored his vision. The man picked up his phone and saw that the names and descriptions of the props that were invisible before were now clear. At this time, a prop caught his attention: creation of heaven and earth. He thought, if he bought this prop, would he be able to become the protagonist in the novel, or even change the fate of the hunter? Unfortunately, the price was too high, so he decided to look at other props. After searching for a while, he finally found a prop called Crushing the Index Finger of the Legod, and he happened to have enough gold coins to buy it. After buying it decisively, he immediately began to test the surrounding environment, but found nothing abnormal. Just then, a phone call came in. It turned out that the novel he had written before had aroused the interest of an editor, who said that the novel was very interesting. The man was stunned. He just wrote the process of killing ants into a novel, but the biggest drawback was that there was no next chapter. So, he excitedly agreed to the editor and decided to give him the complete chapter in 2 days. After the call ended, he picked up his phone and continued to frantically click on ants to seek inspiration for his creations. With each click, the number of gold coins gradually increased. However, at this moment, a red ant appeared on the screen. No matter how the man clicked, the ant could not be killed. The man was furious and tried every possible method, but still failed to hurt the ant at all. Unknowingly, the man fell into a deep sleep and activated the blind god's almighty powers. However, in the dream, a giant ant god suddenly appeared. Every time the man clicked the screen, the entire ant army would disappear. After witnessing the man's power, a surviving ant quickly returned to the door, and after pushing it open, it was revealed to be an entire army of ants. The ant began to report that they had found food and arrows, but not enough to escape. However, they were tricked by the Boom tribe and found a terrible monster there. They must act before the monster arrives. He thought he would be praised, but what greeted him was merciless ridicule. "You are such a coward, a disgrace to the great imperial army." Just when he was frustrated, an old ant came over. This old man was the great wizard sage number 808 in the army. He confirmed what ant number 404 said because he also sensed the evil aura. This is the territory of the great emperor, who vowed not to tolerate the existence of any evil forces. Therefore, he decided to lead the entire ant army to attack, with the goal of defeating that man. At the same time, the man woke up from his sleep, picked up his phone, and saw the damn ant appeared on the screen again. He was so angry that he vowed to kill it. At this moment, a burst of blue energy suddenly hit his forehead, and he was stunned. It turned out to be the energy cannon released by the wizard ant. Then, another energy cannon hit his forehead. When the ants cheered, countless red lights suddenly appeared in the sky, followed by countless red thunders that descended and instantly defeated the ant army. At the same time, the man began to punch the phone to vent his dissatisfaction. After a while, he realized that the phone was new and he felt distressed. At this time, the man looked at the gold coins on the ground and looked at his phone in confusion. The screen showed, "The karma of the unknown god has reached 1,000. Congratulations on getting the title of evil god." The man thought to himself, "I haven't done anything bad. How could I get this title?" At the same time, the gold coins on the ground began to condense, and finally a ring fell out. He picked up the ring curiously, wondering what the ring was for. The man found that he had a god-level ring that could not only analyze everything in the world, but also spy on other people's privacy. When he first got the ring, he didn't know how to use it, so he sniffed it and suddenly felt a sense of comfort like a spring breeze. Then, he put the ring on and immediately felt refreshed. At this moment, the phone prompted a new message. The god of hell's omnipotent instrument is identifying the ring. Then, all the attributes of the ring appeared in front of him. Druid's ring number 808, carried during his lifetime, can enhance attribute energy. The man began to wonder, does this mean that all items can be appraised? With a try-it-out mentality, he began to appraise the furniture around him. TV, 1 year of use, 3 months of warranty remaining. Computer, 1 year of use, 6 months of warranty remaining. Wooden bed, 10 years of use. It is recommended to exchange the old one for a new one. After seeing this information, the man couldn't help but be surprised and fully realized the cruelty of reality. The man suddenly realized that owning this powerful ring, coupled with the ability to identify items, meant that he was no longer just a giant hunter. He decided to go to the hunter school again for ability identification. But when he arrived, he was told that a second appraisal would require an exorbitant fee. The man said on the spot that he had no intention of having the ring appraised. He looked at the ring in his hand with frustration, feeling that he was just happy for nothing. Then he decided to shift his focus and look for some inspiration for writing. Just as he was looking around, his phone suddenly rang with a reminder. The almighty power of Hades has been activated, and target identification is in progress. The man was curious. Could this ability be used to analyze people? He decided to give it a try, so he targeted a male passerby. The screen began to display data. Male human, lived 30 years, suffered from hemorrhoids for 10 years. The man was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the omnipotence of Hades would be so detailed. Then he shifted his target to a pregnant woman, and the screen showed. Female human, 24 years old, 6 months pregnant. The man couldn't help but think that if these people knew that they were being analyzed in this way, they would probably think they were crazy. At this time, a woman caught his attention. The screen showed. Chung Meili, female, lived 19 years, easily agitated. The man walked up to her curiously and tried to ask her, "Hello, are you very excited now?" However, Chung Meili was obviously displeased with his sudden question and looked at him angrily. The man quickly explained that he was not crazy, and at this moment, a phone call saved him. It turned out that his sister called him to help take care of her daughter. After the meeting, the man found that his niece seemed a little unhappy, so he decided to use the identification device to check on her condition. The test results showed that the niece was very eager to eat ice cream. The man took her to the store, but he didn't want to let his niece know because he was short of money. So he used his divine index finger to hit a supersized ice cream, and the niece immediately became happy. The two sat in the park enjoying their ice cream, and the man relaxed for a while. However, a warning suddenly came from the phone, and the screen showed. Title: Brutal Killer, Level 5 Unknown God, Bad Luck in Battle. Then, a voice sounded. Walking on the path of evil, you need to go through hardships to become a true evil god. At this moment, the sky suddenly cracked, and a secondary bull monster suddenly descended on the earth. Chung Meili jumped into the danger recklessly, trying to protect the man. During this process, the man discovered through identification that the monster's purpose was to devour an unknown force in order to gain divine power. The scene changed, and the man was standing on the overpass and suddenly realized that all this was his memory. Unknown God, isn't that the command given to me by the software? He was stunned, realizing that the monster seemed to be staring at him. However, after the monster died, a large amount of information popped up on the screen. Overcome the test, the title ranking is upgraded by 1 level, and the lower god level omnipotence is obtained for free. But it is limited to the evil god-specific omnipotence. The man recalled that it was this mysterious software that put the people around him in danger, and he wanted to throw away the phone more and more. At this moment, a piece of news attracted his attention: the saint's call for help. The man was stunned and puzzled. Who is the saint? At the same time, the termite tribe is facing a catastrophe, and a giant red ant god is launching a fierce attack on the tribe. A termite saint in the tribe kneels down to God and prays devoutly to save her tribe. While she was praying, the red ant god came over and said to the saint with a sarcastic tone, "How dare you try to escape our control?" At the same time, a message came from the man's cell phone. "Unknown God, are you willing to save this little creature that is desperately asking for your help?" Looking at the helpless saint in white, the man couldn't help but think of his own experience of being rescued. He pressed his index finger without hesitation. Suddenly, a thunder roared from the sky, striking the red ant god. The man just killed a few ants on his phone, but he didn't expect that he would anger the entire ant army, and they all besieged him. Despite this, the man successfully resolved the crisis of the termite tribe. In order to repay the man's kindness, the termite saint asked him about the authenticity of the unknown god. The man told her that his name was, but before he finished speaking, he gained a termite believer. At this moment, a prompt came from the phone: "Congratulations on obtaining the title of Good God, Merciful Redeemer." The man was confused, but more prompts followed. You currently have both the titles of Good God and Evil God. By holding both titles, your position has changed from evil to neutral. As a reward for obtaining the title of Good God for the first time, you will receive 100,000 gold coins. Faced with this huge reward, the man chose the blessing of the God of Growth without hesitation. Afterwards, he appraised it, and the detailed information of the item was revealed. The lowest level of gods, this is the body fluid spilled during training. Drinking it can maximize one's own strength. The more you drink, the greater the improvement effect. The man hesitated for a moment, but eventually drank it all in one gulp. However, he did not feel any obvious changes after drinking it, which made him angry. However, he noticed a line of small words at the end: the more you drink, the better the effect. So he drank more than a dozen bottles of body fluids in succession, and finally fell to the ground because he could not bear it. At this time, a notification came from the phone: the assimilation rate of the God Maker has increased by 5%. The friendship ability has increased along with the assimilation rate. The man opened his eyes again and found himself back home. At this moment, a group of ants pounced on him, and the man fled in fear. The phone prompted, "Due to the increase in assimilation rate, your God-Maker battlefield has been upgraded." Faced with the swarming ants, the man chose to escape. But after a while, he found himself trapped in the house. Furious, he raised his index finger, and a stream of red energy quickly gathered at his fingertips and exploded among the ants. The ants immediately realized that the man in front of them had great power and decided to launch a rocket attack. In an instant, thousands of rockets flew towards the man, followed by bursts of wailing from the man. The ants shouted triumphantly, "Did you see that? This is the strength of our great empire. All troops should behead him together and present him to our great evil repellent." However, as the ants surrounded him, the man felt that it was difficult to breathe and he could hardly breathe. At this moment, he noticed the insecticide next to him. Deciding to give it a try, he picked up the insecticide and sprayed it around, instantly destroying the entire army of ants, and was awarded the special reward of Senior God. Although the number of ants still made the man feel unbearable pressure, a strong impulse surged in his heart. In confusion, the man's eyes accidentally swept over the insecticide next to him. He tried desperately to break free from the dense ant colony. At this moment, the ants seemed to be immersed in the joy of victory. However, in the next moment, a huge amount of energy gathered in the man's hands. Before he realized what was happening, he was engulfed in flames. It was not until the last moment that he realized that this power came from God. The flames surrounded him, and he tried to escape, but found that he could not move at all. At this moment, his cell phone rang, and a reminder sounded, "The high-level evil god has sent you a gift, silent sleepwalking." He could choose whether to accept this gift. The man clicked the confirmation button without hesitation. In an instant, a powerful black energy surged to his fingertips, and at the same time, thunder was heard from the top of the mountain. It turned out to be Cheng Miling, who was still trying to find a breakthrough to defeat the bull monster, but unfortunately there was no progress. At this time, she noticed that Gu Yuan seemed to be abnormal. At the same time, the man glared and cursed. How could this happen? This is useless. At this moment, the phone prompted again, "Your inherent skill, Silent Nightmare, is being absorbed." The man wanted to keep trying, but soon, he was choked by the smoke and fell to the ground. At this moment, there was a loud noise in the house. He looked up and saw Cheng Miling. Then he lost consciousness. When he woke up again, he found himself wrapped tightly and Cheng Miling was watching all this from afar. He recalled the scene when he defeated the bull monster and the scene when he was sent to the hospital. At that time, he also felt a power that broke through his limits. Could it be that the man had some special ability? However, on second thought, his own recent behavior seemed to be becoming more and more unreasonable. Elsewhere, the saint in white was standing silently under an ancient tree and praying. The tribesmen around her were anxiously trying to dissuade her because she was planning to offer the gem in her hand to the gods. This gem is extremely precious to the tribe, but she has made a decision. If it weren't for that man, this tribe would have ceased to exist long ago. She said firmly, "We gave up this gem, and I believe you will definitely forgive us." At the same time, the man yelled, "Damn ants." He casually sprinkled a few pieces of sugar, which actually revived the injured ants. At this time, the man angrily complained to the phone, "Damn ants, they made me so embarrassed." He glanced at the screen and saw, "The saint of termites and the tribe are praying for you." The man was stunned. At this time, the phone sent another prompt. "The believers want to pay tribute to you. Do you accept it?" He decisively chose to accept it and was curious to know what offerings these believers had prepared. Then, a red gem jumped out of the phone, and the man immediately identified it. The fruit of the world tree, one of the 7 fruits left by the world tree. He originally thought that this fruit was not important. However, when he saw a line of text on it, his eyes lit up instantly. This fruit can significantly improve physical strength. The man swallowed it without hesitation. In an instant, a strange taste filled his mouth, salty and spicy, almost unbearable. Soon, he was surprised to find that his wounds had healed. The scene before him was unbelievable, and even Chun Meili was stunned. At this moment, his eyes accidentally fell on the mobile phone next to him, and a line of text appeared on the screen. The additional function of God's blessing has been enabled, and the happiness of the ants is waiting for you. What does this mean? Do I need to distribute blessed items to believers? He was slightly confused and wondered, what do ants like? At this time, the white sugar beside attracted his attention. On the other side, the believers were disappointed because they did not receive a response. Suddenly, snowflakes began to float in the sky. The ants tasted the snow and found that it was actually sugar. Even more incredible was that the wounds on their bodies also healed miraculously. At the same time, the phone sounded a notification. "Congratulations, you have obtained 101 true beliefs. The current belief amount is 1,101. With this, you have obtained 10,100 silver coins. Note, Each belief can be exchanged for 100 silver coins. The man looked at the sugar in his hand. A gratified smile appeared on his face, and he thought, I didn't expect that ants would like this thing so much. The next day, the man walked into a store and said he had items to sell. The clerk immediately recognized him as a hunter, and he admitted that he was a hunter, although he did not have a hunting license. Hearing this, the clerk suggested that he go get a permit first. The man sighed inwardly. If it weren't for paying off the debt for repairing the house, I wouldn't come here. Just then, a group of hunters walked into the store. They brought a so-called high-level armor and claimed that they could sell it for only 3 million. But after checking with the identification ability of the ring, the man found out that it was just a worn-out armor that had been used for nearly 30 years. So he stopped them without hesitation and said coldly, what you have in your hands is just some scrap metal. At this time, he began to question why he should care about these trivial matters. However, his action angered the hunters, who threatened to tear his mouth apart if they heard him talking nonsense again. The man calmly extended his index finger and pressed lightly. The power of the ring was activated and the armor on the table instantly returned to its original state. Seeing this, the leading man immediately bowed his head and apologized. I'm sorry, I was short-sighted and didn't recognize you as a senior hunter. If you don't mind, we will leave now. After that, they left quickly, looking unhappy. The boss watched all this and suddenly realized that this man was probably the legendary warriors, those hunters whose lives were completely different from those of ordinary people. Just as the boss was about to hand over the item, the man took out the ring and asked him to identify it. After careful inspection, the results showed that it was still just a D-level ring and did not seem to be worth much. However, at this moment, the ring's identification ability was activated again, showing that it had a special effect of enhancing life, and noted, if this ring is given to Ching Mei, the effect will be better. At the same time, Ching Mei was quietly following the man, and suddenly the man appeared in front of her. As they met, a thunderous sound came from the top of the building, and an old man shouted in surprise, his strength has actually reached level 1. Ching Mei watched all this in disbelief, and recalled the man's words when he handed the ring to her. This ring will definitely come in handy. She hadn't expected the ring to be so powerful and to grant her such tremendous power. At this time, her sister said coldly, it's just a little bit stronger, don't get carried away. Then, she shouted again, Ching Mei, if you still want revenge, I will teach you a lesson. Although Ching Mei agreed to her sister's request, she had already decided in her heart that if that man could really help her surpass herself, then revenge might be just around the corner. At the same time, the man was experiencing a nightmare. In the dream, the omnipotence of Hades was activated, and a mighty army of ants was gathering strength and preparing to launch an attack. The man just killed 100,000 ants, but accidentally triggered a collective counterattack by 5 million ants. At this moment, he was trapped in a nightmare. In the dream, the fourth of the 10 ants, Shenmue, issued an order to summon 5 million ants and vowed to completely eliminate the man. The ant general acted upon hearing the order and said that he would definitely act according to the order. At the same time, the man woke up from a nightmare and suddenly realized that this matter was far from as simple as he had imagined. Last time, he was nearly killed by 100,000 ants, and this time, the enemy was 50 times as many. Just thinking about it made him shudder, and he had no idea how to deal with it. At this moment, the message on the phone screen caught his attention. It was a message from a silent nightmare. Do you need strength? The man replied curiously, who are you? Soon, new information appeared on the screen. You need to kill 100 immature gods like you, especially those humans who share the same blood as you. After seeing this, the man was shocked and felt that he might have met a lunatic. Then, the blind god's inherent magic weapon showed a picture, and a scene emerged in front of the man's eyes. The ant general led an army of 5 million ants, approaching him in a mighty manner, vowing to kill him and present him to the great majesty. All of this seemed to be almost identical to the man's dream. Now, there were only 4 days left. Facing the anxious believers on the phone, the man decided to take action. He opened the god-level store and bought a fire skill called Sea of Fire, which sounded good. Soon, the man found out that he had been fooled, because the flames he spewed out were insignificant. However, the store noted that this skill would be more effective when used with the god's middle finger. The man then realized that he should have given up this skill immediately. However, at this moment, he received another message. The editor came to urge him to submit his manuscript, informing him that the deadline was approaching and he might face compensation if he did not submit it. At this time, the man finally realized that he still had a manuscript to write. So he drank several bottles of God of Growth beverage, hurriedly finished the novel, and handed it to the editor. Then he fell asleep on the table. Just as he was falling into a deep sleep, his cell phone sent out a new reminder. The Godmaker assimilation rate increased from 5% to 10%. His inner potential was improved, and the title of Merciful Savior was activated. At the same time, Chung Mei was carrying a cake and preparing to visit the man. She mustered up the courage to press the doorbell, but found that the door was not locked. After pushing the door open, she was surprised to find that there was no one in the house. At this moment, the man woke up from his sleep, only to find himself chained and unable to move. At the same time, Lu Yixin suddenly found himself tied up in a warehouse, and the three people in front of him turned out to be the group of hunters he met in the store before. It turned out that the man had accidentally interrupted their transaction last time, and this time, they came to demand compensation. The man said he didn't have a cell phone, so how could he be compensated? However, they immediately took out the man's cell phone. At this moment, the phone made a beep, indicating that the general was about to arrive with 5 million ants. The man shouted in fear, "Throw away your phone. Unchain me." But they thought he was joking. The next moment, countless ants pounced on one of them and devoured him in an instant. They finally realized the seriousness of the situation and wondered why there were so many ants all of a sudden. The man who reacted the fastest immediately released a stream of fire, trying to burn all the ants. Just as Lu Yixin was shocked by the power of the flame, the man in front of him suddenly fell to the ground, and then a stone wrapped in magic power fell to the ground. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be the magic stone launched by the ant army. Following the general's order, countless magic stones were ready to be launched. The man standing nearby was so scared that he wanted to escape, but found himself trapped. As the magic stones rained down, the man instantly fell into a pool of blood. The man watched all this with regret in his heart. If I had known that these people were so strong, how could I have messed with them? All this was caused by that damn game. At this moment, he heard the mocking voices of the ants. "Evil God, all your men are dead." The man closed his eyes and silently accepted the impending fate. At this moment, a phone in the distance sounded a notification indicating that a small miracle had been activated. Suddenly, countless lightning bolts fell violently from the ceiling and exploded in the ant army. The ant general was shocked to find that the girl in front of him was Chung Mei. She waved her hand, and lightning immediately struck the ant army and scattered them. General Ant stared at the scene in disbelief, never expecting that he would be defeated by an unknown woman. The man was also shocked by what he saw. He didn't even have to use his own strength to defeat the ant army. Why does he have such a powerful following? In the eyes of General Ant, Lu Yixin is undoubtedly an extremely evil person. Thinking of this, the general slowly took off his battle robe and said with gritted teeth, "Today, no matter if I die here, I will kill you with my own hands." A man can destroy tens of thousands of ants just by raising his middle finger. If he raises all 5 fingers, the whole world will probably be shocked. At this time, General Ant slowly took off his armor, determined to kill the man with his own hands even if he died in this battle. Chung Mei continued to use lightning to kill ants, and the surrounding ants kept urging the general to retreat. In order to gain enough strength to defeat the man, the general did not hesitate to sacrifice the lives of all his men as a deal with the sword god. After the deal was done, he immediately raised the sickle in his hand and mercilessly killed all his subordinates, shocking even them. He actually killed his own father with his own hands. The next moment, the general's momentum surged, and the entire warehouse seemed to be shaken. At this moment, the man's identification ability was triggered. He found that the imperial general was wielding 1,000 blades and stabbing at the city gate, staring at Chen fiercely. The general sneered and roared, "Damn evil god! Your followers dared to disrespect the great emperor. Then pay with your life." After saying that, he rushed straight towards Chen. The lightning struck him, but it was like nothing. He waved his hand to knock it down. Then, he leaped into the air, the sharp blade in his hand slashing like lightning. The next second, Chung Mei fell in a pool of blood. The general said coldly, "Those who disrespect the emperor will pay the price with their lives. Now it's your turn, evil god." At this moment, the man could no longer suppress his inner anger, and the treasure chest of God behind him also responded to his call. A reminder came from my mind. The authority of God and the silent dream shadow have seen the future destiny. Lu Yixin, you are the one who can change destiny. Are you willing to use the authority of God to change the fate of this mortal? The choice will consume 100,000 gods. Faced with this choice, the man decisively decided to accept it. The moment he made the choice, a divine light instantly descended. Time seemed to go back to the moment when the general rushed towards the city gate, and the man instantly realized that the ant in front of him was no longer ordinary. There was a dangerous aura emanating from his body, and one blow even made him feel that he might be killed on the spot. However, this time, the man changed his fate. He suddenly grabbed Chung Mei and looked at General Ant coldly. Chung Mei also felt that the man in front of her seemed to be extraordinary. The general rushed towards the man again, roaring, "Damn ants!" Then, the man slowly raised his middle finger and whispered, "God's money, God's end." The next second, there was a loud bang in the warehouse, and flames swept through, and the general completely disappeared in the flames. At this time, a knife fell from the air, attracting the man's attention. He looked at it carefully, full of doubts in his heart. What is this? A moment later, returning home, Chung Miling knelt in front of the man and said respectfully, "This is a bottle of experience from God, which has the ability to instantly destroy S-level monsters." After that, she knelt down, expressed her willingness to be the man's servant, and began to repair the house for him. While the man was thinking about the role of the knife, Chung Miling mistook him for the legendary hermit. She suddenly knelt down and begged the man to give her a chance. "I am willing to do anything for you to become stronger." Although the man explained that he was just a hunter, she firmly believed that it was the man who gave her the power, and she hoped to get a chance. After Chung Miling's hard work, the dilapidated house was instantly renovated. Just as they were about to celebrate, an emergency report suddenly came in that a monster appeared nearby, and they needed to go and rescue immediately. Just as the man was about to leave, he called Chung Miling and handed him a bottle of blessing from the god of growth. "How did you do it?" "Just like the hunter Jiangyu in the store," the man asked. Chung Miling shook her head and said, "I don't know who that person is, but this bottle of blessing is helpful to me, and I will cherish it." After that, he left in a hurry. The scene changed, and the man was enjoying a delicious meal. At this time, the TV was broadcasting an emergency. An S-level Drake monster appeared at the door of the parliament, and everyone was evacuating urgently. At the same time, an A-level hunter, Lightning Queen, rushed to the scene. The man was also shocked to hear the news. Although most people believe that A-level hunters could not compete with S-level monsters, he still decided to go to the scene to participate in the rescue. He began to worry about Chung Miling's safety. At the same time, the Drake monster began to attack the crowd. Each blow was enough to crack the ground and cause widespread damage. Chung Miling was also doing her best to rescue the people. She knew that she was about to face an attack from an S-class monster, but she did not want her sister to find out that she was acting on her own. Facing such a fierce attack from the monster, Chung Miling knew that now was not the time to be distracted. He concentrated all his efforts and prepared to fight the monster. The next second, the monster fell to the ground with a bang, seemingly defeated. But at this moment, a huge tail suddenly pounced and knocked him to the ground in an instant. He remembered his sister's teaching, "Don't act alone." At this moment, Chung Miling's eyes were attracted by the potion next to her. Seeing that the monster was about to launch a fatal attack on the crowd, Chung Miling decided to make a last-ditch effort. At this moment, a dazzling light burst out from behind him. The monster looked back and saw the Lightning Queen flash before him. The man simply raised his right hand, and a strong lightning storm came roaring, quickly defeating the monster and even killing the messenger sent by His Majesty on the spot. Facing such a powerful S-class monster, Chung Miling stood up again without flinching. He jumped up, gathered all his strength in his hands, and suddenly hit the monster. The audience in front of the TV were all exclaiming, "This young man actually possesses such powerful strength." Lightning Queen, an A-level hunter, defeated the S-level monster Drake alone. Chung Miling said to the TV camera with gratitude, "Master, did you see it? I did it. Thank you for giving me the medicine." After a moment, the man looked at the number of views on his phone screen, more than 2 million times. Such an influential person is actually having dinner at my house. He muttered to himself, but then added, "But you don't have to go home. Your family won't worry about you anymore. They are all dead." In the case of the Nether Dragon, hunters from all over the world united to barely defeat it. It was a disaster that claimed the lives of millions of humans. The man immediately realized that he had said the wrong thing, and hurriedly handed the noodles in his bowl to Chung Miling to express his apology. At this moment, the phone sent another reminder. "You have satisfied the target's favorability and trust. If the target says the keyword, the faith can be activated." The man's mind moved. Activate faith? He suddenly remembered the incident with the termite saint. Would he be able to obtain a large amount of divine coins like last time? He didn't know when a new army of ants would attack, and the more divine coins he had, the better. Therefore, he asked Chung Miling, "Can you please say a word to me?" Chung Miling was slightly stunned, but accepted it happily. "I believe you have doubts." At this time, the phone sent a message. "You have successfully established trust with Chung Miling. Congratulations, Chung Miling is your first believer on Earth." The current number of believers, 1,102. The man was wondering why he hadn't received any gift of divine coins when suddenly, another notification came. Skill sharing menu has been created. Obtain skill sharing. As the master of the believer, You can use the believer's abilities. Currently available ability, Human Blood. This crappy game is worse than just giving away divine power. The man complained, feeling a little puzzled. At this moment, a group of insect messengers hurried over. Seeing the man's furious look, they realized that this was the evil god rumored by the termite tribe. Such an arrogant person could actually receive His Majesty's reward, because His Majesty once said that the god of evil will play a crucial role in the future war. They were about to go forward and perform the deification ceremony for the man. The man thought the instructions above were just a bunch of nonsense, and when he was about to ignore them, he suddenly raised his right hand and shouted to the sky, "Skill sharing." At this moment, a bolt of lightning directly hit one of the Kunping messengers. Surprisingly, the seemingly ordinary knife actually triggered a fight between the two gods. Then, a bolt of lightning descended from the sky, splitting the insect messenger into charcoal on the spot. Chung Miling stood aside and said excitedly, "I didn't expect that you could use lightning, Master." The man responded calmly, "It doesn't matter. What matters is that the cost of repairing the house has increased a bit." These words made Chung Miling feel both surprised and happy. At the same time, His Majesty learned that the envoys were annihilated. Before the locust envoy next to him could explain, he was pierced by a spear. His Majesty shouted angrily, "This is the price you pay for angering His Majesty." His Majesty has never suffered such a humiliation in 500 years. He ordered his men to kill this evil god. At this time, Chung Miling was running hard. As an advanced hunter, he had plenty of physical strength and quickly finished 100 laps. The man saw this and handed him a bottle of the god of growth's blessing, thinking to himself, "Since he has become my believer, I must do something for him." He knew that the help he could provide was limited, and potions and ability assessment seemed to be the only thing he could do. So he activated his identification ability to evaluate Chung Miling's potential. Soon after, a message came. The inherent ability of Hades has been activated, and the target has entered the depths of his heart. Instantly, the man was transported to an unfamiliar space, and a strong light struck him, which turned out to be a battery full of lightning. Then, the system prompt sounded. Chung Miling's true ability is SS-level, and has been sealed for 10 years. The seal is bound by SS-level chains. The man recalled that when he defeated the bull monster last time, he had used the divine index finger to temporarily break the seal. If he could completely remove Chung Miling's seal, he would be able to exert his true strength. Thinking of this, the man was full of expectations. The scene changed, and the man told Chung Miling, "Remember to drink the potion on time." After Chung Miling agreed, she quickly returned home. His strength was already quite strong, but he still couldn't break the seal alone. The man kept using the index finger of God to break the seal for him, but because there were too many chains, he couldn't untie them all at once. Chung Miling thought to herself, "Who sealed my strength? But it doesn't matter, I will find the answer." Meanwhile, someone unknown has set his sights on him. The scene switches to the man, who is thinking about what to do with the house. At this time, the phone sent another reminder. The silent nightmare is looking at you sadly. Qianren is staring at you resentfully. The man was too upset to pay any attention to them. However, Silent Nightmare asked the man to unlock the knife, and Qianren offered to pay 2 million coins in exchange for the knife. Silent Nightmare immediately raised the price. "I'll pay 10 million coins." The man's interest was piqued. He thought to himself, "Whoever offers the best conditions will get the knife." He stared at the screen and saw a dazzling rose slowly blooming on the opposite side. It turned out to be the nightmare flower that all insects were terrified of. In order to obtain the knife, both sides offered extremely tempting conditions. Qianren expressed his willingness to offer his authority. The super blade can cut through everything. With it, a man will be invincible. Silent Nightmare followed closely behind, saying that he could provide a rose that blooms at night. The advantage of this rose is that it can crush the opponent without any attack. The man was very interested in this and said, "I will give the knife to anyone who can provide more." Then, he received the items they sent. The screen showed, "You have received 2 million Superblade Divine Coins and 3 chances to use the Superblade Treasure. You have received the Night Blooming Rose." Faced with these tempting skills, the man decided to give it a try. He first tried to use Night Blooming Rose, but received a system prompt. This skill can only be used at night. He laughed bitterly. "Good man, I was already asleep. How could I know what it was used for?" He laughed at himself. "I really shouldn't have believed them." Then, he tried to use this super blade, but there was another long silence, and the phone didn't seem to respond. The man was furious. What a crappy phone. At this moment, the phone prompted again. "Superman is activating." In an instant, the man felt an evil thought staring at him tightly. The knife in his hand exuded a strong, murderous aura, and there was only one thought in his heart: to cut off everything. The scene changed, and in the picture, two elderly people were praising the young man who was cutting vegetables for his extra hard work today. However, they didn't know that the man was in tears at this moment, and he slowly returned home until the evil thoughts gradually faded away. At this moment, he just wanted to have a good sleep. On the other side, the wasp woman Sarju watched all this quietly, anticipating that they would kill the man after he fell asleep. Just as they were about to act, something strange happened. A bright rose suddenly bloomed in the man's stomach, and this scene frightened them greatly. The activation conditions of the Silent Nightmare's unique authority, rose blooming at night, were met, and the next second, the wasp and Sarju attacked the man. The flower opened quickly, and its bloody mouth swallowed them one by one. Seeing this, Sarju remembered that this was the legendary nightmare flower. According to the tribal archives, the nightmare flower once devoured the god of the nine-layered insect tribe, and its owner, Silent Nightmare, had already become a legend 3,000 years ago. He is the true successor of the nightmare flower. Sarju suddenly realized that they were facing this terrifying existence. Despite this, Sarju did not retreat. He led the charge, followed by other soldiers. Today, I must fight the nightmare flower to the death. Even if I cannot kill the god of evil, I will die together with the nightmare flower, he roared. Sarju gathered all his strength and delivered a fatal blow, but was easily swallowed by the bloody mouth. When he realized that he could not escape, another big mouth rushed towards him, and a moment later, he was also swallowed. The next day, when the man woke up from his deep sleep, he only felt a strong sense of fullness. At this moment, his ant believers sent him a distress signal. The man only took a nap, but accidentally saved the entire termite tribe. When the man woke up, he suddenly found a distress signal from the ant believers. He quickly asked, "Are you feeling unwell?" He then used the blind god's fist on his followers, but this did not bring about the desired effect, and instead seemed to have led to more serious consequences. The man-bees were hovering below the termite tribe, and the man was confused, not knowing how to deal with this sudden situation. At this moment, a message came. Because of your sincerity, the miracle menu has been activated. For God, the most important thing is to create miracles for believers. The miracles you release will directly affect their trust in you, and they will become more awed by you. The message continued. To achieve the miracle of healing, your divine power and 100,000 divine coins are essential. Do you choose? The man chose to consume 100,000 divine powers without hesitation. He decided to use part of the fruit of the world tree he absorbed as the raw material for the miracle and use his willpower to perform the miracle. As his choice was confirmed, the man felt sleepy and instantly fell into deep sleep again. At this time, the system prompted, the title of good god has been upgraded from level 1 to level D, and Luisen's inclination has changed from evil to justice. Some kind gods began to pay attention to Luisen, including Fengrauschen. Meanwhile, the ant believers of the termite tribe are dying from the venom, and they are still begging for a miracle. Suddenly, a divine light descended. The termite saint looked up and saw the divine light turned into countless raindrops falling on the ground. The divine rain washed away the poison in the believers, and the saint was moved and thanked the man from the bottom of her heart. God has saved us again, and we hope we can repay him with the most sincere faith. The man woke up again and found Cheng Miling in his home. Cheng Miling explained, I didn't see you guys at the training ground, so I came to take a look. What is that thing? It looks interesting. The man was stunned for a moment, then he looked in the direction Cheng Miling was looking, and realized that it was a statue made by the termite tribe to thank Luisen. Although it looked quite ugly, Cheng Miling said she wanted the statue. The man shook his head and said, I can't train today. Let's do it another day. A moment later, just as the man was about to start writing, the termite tribe sent another distress signal. This time, the problem was with the world tree. The man's miracle caused the world tree to begin to sprout, but now it was seriously ill and had only one day left before withering. The man recalled that there were some items in the store that could be used to heal the world tree. He searched carefully and soon found the tears of the god of plenty. This is an item that can only be purchased by those chosen by the goddess, but to purchase it, the prerequisite task must be completed. The system reminds, warning, if the task is not completed, the purchase cost will not be refunded. The man couldn't help but sigh. To save the world tree, I have to do this? He walked to the street and started picking up cigarette butts, thinking, I picked them up all afternoon and only got 10 points. If I continue like this, when will I be able to complete the task? Just then, an old man came up to him and said with a smile, Young man, you are walking into my territory. The man picked up a few cigarette butts helplessly, thinking to himself, can I save the world by picking up cigarette butts like this? The man mistakenly thought that the old man in front of him was a beggar, so he immediately took out a large sum of money to give alms, but he didn't expect the old man to loudly scold him. "Do you really think I'm a beggar?" The man was stunned and suddenly remembered that there was an S-level hunter on this street named Chui Kongshan. Just as the man realized this, the old man quickly snatched the big bill away and said, "Don't waste it." The man looked at his phone helplessly and found that his points had not increased. Then he realized that the old man was just a drunkard. Then he threw the bottle into the bag. Just as he was about to leave, a strange sound attracted his attention. The old man suddenly realized that there might be a monster nearby, so he grabbed the man and rushed towards the direction of the sound. The man was so frightened by this action that he almost fainted on the spot. Soon, they came to a warehouse, and the old man told the man, "The chance of monsters appearing here is as high as 80%. The man widened his eyes, looking at the huge monster in front of him, feeling nervous. "I didn't expect you to faint so quickly. I thought you were at least a B level," the old man said with a nonchalant smile. The monster in front of them stared at them and murmured in a low voice, "It seems that you are the young god in the legend. If I offer you to the master will be very happy." Faced with this chattering monster, the old man seemed extremely impatient. He snorted coldly and quickly swung his fist towards the monster. At the same time, the owner of the ability has detected danger. The night blooming rose fully activates, and then a nightmare flower appears in front of them and swallows it in one gulp. Elsewhere, under the prayer tree, the man didn't know where he was. The figure beside him attracted his attention, and he was about to ask, "You finally woke up, my great and merciful God." But before the man could answer, he was pulled back to reality. He saw the old man curled up and shivering. At this time, a message came. "You defeated the evil god's subordinates and brought peace to the world." When the man was wondering about this, another message came. "You have exceeded the task requirements. You have received the tears of plenty. The ability of plenty has been activated, and you can heal the sick world tree sapling." At this moment, the man was imagining himself reaching the peak of his life. Congratulations on reviving the world tree and bringing vitality to the revival of the termite tribe. Then, the man sent the old man to the hospital. At this time, a message came. "The greater the influence of your followers, the stronger your divine power will become." At the same time, at the hunter headquarters, the man received the news that the S-rank hunter Choi Kong-san was hospitalized, and he immediately said, when he is discharged from the hospital, he will be allowed to be the teacher of the Lightning Queen, because they are looking forward to the performance of these two people to bring more help to the team. On the other hand, the man just returned home and received another letter of help from the termite tribe. The man just killed 5 million cockroaches and gained god-level skills. At this time, the man had just returned home, and looking at the piles of statues, he was completely overwhelmed. At this time, a message came. "Due to the influence of Lu Isen's statue, your intimacy with the termite saint increased by 105. This thing can actually increase intimacy with ants." At this time, the termite saint sent another call for help. "Please save our poor tribe. The devil's beasts attack your termite believers." Looking at the fallen termite believers, "Damn demons, how dare you touch my believers? Take me to their base camp. I will crush them with 2 fingers." Hearing this, the termite believers felt relieved. Soon, they arrived at the gate. But the man in front of the phone could not see anything, so he turned on the omnipotence of the citizen god and surveyed the surroundings. It turned out to be a group of cockroaches, summoning cockroach beasts, beasts summoned by the devil from the kingdom, which grow once every hour, and there is 1 second left. The man was shocked. They are all cockroaches. Why are there so many cockroaches? Just as the believers were despairing about this scene, the termite saint decisively comforted everyone. "Don't be afraid. We still have the god Lu Isen." But in a blink of an eye, the man had already run away in fear. In an instant, the believers felt that they were abandoned by God. On the other side, General Cockroach was reporting the situation to His Majesty. He assured His Majesty, "It will only take 4 days to bring back the body of the evil god. If it fails, I will commit suicide to apologize." At this time, the Locust Messenger sent a battle report from the front line. The cockroach beasts have increased to millions, but they have all been wiped out by the evil god. On the other side, a large amount of ant helmintics instantly wiped out the cockroach army. At this point, the man was very happy that he had bought the insect repellent spray earlier. He never expected that this thing would come in handy. At this time, the termite saint was crying and complaining that she shouldn't have distrusted that woman. Under the man's careful comfort, he unexpectedly met the requirements to gain new abilities. System prompt. By paying 100 God coins, you can obtain the inherent ability, God's Thumb Multiplier. Do you choose to obtain it? Look at the detailed description above. God's inherent ability is strength, and must be tested to become stronger. At this moment, a message came, which scared the man half to death. It turned out that the editor wanted to meet. The scene changed to show the two of them having dinner together. However, when the editor talked about the novel, the man seemed absent-minded and even played with his phone in front of her. The prompt showed, Demon Beast was attacking the termite tribe. Should we go and help? However, this also caused dissatisfaction among the editors, who immediately accused him of being arrogant. On the other side, the termite tribe was holding a ceremony to clear all the demons in the world in order to thank their great and merciful angel. The man just drank a few glasses of wine and eliminated all the demons. At this time, in order to thank their great and merciful gods, the saint decided to eliminate all the demons in the world. On the other side, the man received the message. The unknown god killed the hand of disaster and obtained 300,000 white god coins. The merciful Redeemer reached level C. You can choose any ability as a reward, provided that the tears of fertility will be recycled. Looking at the numerous skills, the man decisively chose the following ability: Heaven and Earth Creation Super God level. Then a prompt came. Luisin was not capable enough to activate this skill, and the skill would be converted into the creation of a false world to suit Luisin's status. The world will undergo some changes. In an instant, all human beings will notice something strange. They will see another moon suddenly appear in the sky. On the other side, a man was reporting all the information about the Lightning Queen to their leader. Is that the damned hunter? It looks like we can start our action. My lord, please wait a little longer. Your loyal followers will ensure that your wish comes true. We will follow God's will. At the same time, 2 moons appeared in the world, which caused discussion among experts. They predicted that the monsters in the dungeon would become stronger as a result. On the other side, Chen Meili had just completed the 500-lap sprint task. At this time, the man wanted to know how strong he was now. So he used the omnipotence of the god of death to reach the depths of his heart, and saw a cute saber-toothed tiger squatting in front of him. Afterwards, the man used the divine index finger to continuously break the chains. Although there were still a lot of chains left, it was still progress. Okay, now let's see how much stronger he has become. A bolt of lightning struck directly outside the room. Cheng Meili shouted excitedly. I knew the teacher's method was right. At this time, a message came. The termite saint asked Luisin to give her a name. Teacher, it's not good to call her saint. It seems that it's time to give her a name. Why not call you Andy? The saint was very satisfied with the name she got, and then all the ant believers asked Luisin to give them a name. A moment later, back home, the man received a message. After experiencing the disaster of the beast and receiving Luisin's gift, the ant believers evolved into Type Gaima. This game can actually evolve and seems to be more modern. Because of the evolution of the ants, the experience of the crocodile summoned by the devil was exchanged. Luisin was upgraded to level 2. And the civilization revival will be activated after the upgrade. The world has changed in a way that even men find incredible. They have cultivated farmland, established tribes, and set up training grounds. This is God's miracle. Let us thank the great leader again. Facing the thriving tribe, the man was filled with joy. Suddenly, the question mark icon in the corner of the screen caught his attention. Click to view. Warrior's Tower, the starting point of the Eternal Explorer. Only those with firm faith and fiery courage can challenge it. The survival rate is less than 1%. At the same time, a towering tower suddenly appeared before everyone's eyes. The man had previously named the ants arbitrarily, which actually triggered the evolution of the group. Now, they are cultivating farmland and building tribes. Looking at the tower that suddenly appeared, the man was worried that curiosity would lead to trouble, so he raised his hand to seal the tower door. No one is allowed to enter. In the dark, a termite warrior clenched his weapon. This is a test for the brave. Only by becoming stronger can we protect the tribe, and we must protect everyone. On the other side, General Cockroach knelt down and begged for mercy. Your Majesty, please give me another chance. Shut up. You have already signed a life and death agreement. The Emperor's fingertips flashed with cold light, and the general was instantly reduced to ashes. Useless. Do you want me to lead the army in person? Your Majesty, calm down. Spider-Woman walked towards Alan and said, You are about to become a true god. Leave the extermination of the termites to me. I swear in the name of Alan that I will make them disappear from the world. The scene jumped, and Alan appeared in the territory of the blood-sucking mosquito. Use the cursed needle to sneak attack the evil god, and make them pay the price for angering his majesty. The man was typing away at his desk, occasionally glancing at the ant colony. Seeing the ants sleeping soundly, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Suddenly, a figure came into view. An ant was struggling to move a stone that was several times larger than itself. This is the most hardworking warrior in the tribe. After evolution, he awakened his talent for strength. The man wanted to help, but was at a loss for a moment. At this moment, a bottle of glowing medicine fell from the sky. God's gift. The ants cheered. The man continued to type, unaware that a poisonous mosquito was slowly approaching in the dark. After sucking the blood of the evil god, I will definitely surpass that so-called majesty. After the poisonous mosquito succeeded, black air surged all over its body. But before it could be proud of itself, snap, a big hand slapped it into a pulp. In an instant, the man suddenly felt a chill piercing his bones. In the reflection in the mirror, the devil's mark appeared on his forehead. A warning popped up on his phone. The curse of the ugly plague knight is in effect. Cold, high fever, anemia. Multiple curses are coming. The man struggled to buy medicine, but the system prompted, "You need to complete the task first." Helplessly, he staggered to the hospital. At the same time, a mysterious man sneaks into the same hospital. Who could have expected that the mosquito that the man casually slapped to death would become an opportunity to save all of humanity, and that he would also unexpectedly receive the power of the legendary Dr. Huata? In this ever-changing situation, a man sneaked into the hospital like a ghost in the dark night. He was Jean, a soldier carefully dispatched by the organization. The powerful words of the past leader in his speech echoed in his ears like a loud bell. If God wants to come to this world, he needs a large number of top-quality sacrifices. Jean, can you put life and death aside to complete this sacred mission? Now, with a firm belief in purifying the world, he decided to devote his precious life here. At the same time, the man dragged his body, weakened by the curse, and arrived at the hospital with difficulty. At this moment, the mission issued by the store exploded in his heart like a thunderbolt. If you want to survive, you must save 100 people. The man smiled bitterly and muttered to himself. In this situation, asking me to save 100 people, isn't this pushing me to a dead end? Turning his sight to the other side, Jean was like a mad, trapped beast, holding a woman tightly hostage, shouting at the top of his lungs. All human beings will become sacrifices to God. Chung Mary, on the other hand, was facing a formidable enemy. She clenched her weapons tightly in both hands and confronted Jean cautiously, not daring to make any rash moves. The atmosphere was as tense as a bowstring that was drawn to the limit and ready to explode at any moment. At this tense moment, Jin's eyes were as sharp as an eagle and instantly captured the man. He caught a glimpse of the same mark on his forehead and suddenly felt as if he had found a companion in the dark. He mistook the man for a helper sent by the organization and shouted anxiously, "Come and help. With our sacrifice, we can exchange for God's blessing. He is clearly my teacher. How could he be with you evil people?" When Chung Mary heard this, her eyebrows raised and she retorted without hesitation, her tone full of certainty and anger. The man endured the excruciating pain brought by the curse and used his special ability to read Jin's memory. In an instant, a picture clearly emerged in his mind. A mysterious man with a stern expression was giving orders to Jin. In order for the gods to come, the world must make sacrifices. The man felt a chill rising from his spine and instinctively knew that something was wrong. At the critical moment, seeing that Thorn's finger was about to press the button that would trigger a disaster, the man did not hesitate and suddenly activated the index finger of God. In an instant, a dazzling golden light flashed across the dim space, like a sharp blade, accurately hitting the button, causing it to lose its effectiveness instantly and turn into a pile of scrap metal. Then, the man looked at Chung Mei with a sharp gaze and shouted in a short and powerful voice, "Mei, do it." When Chung Mei received the order, her aura suddenly changed. The weapon in her hand shone brightly, and a bolt of lightning, carrying the power to destroy the world, roared towards Jin. Jin was unable to dodge and was hit by the thunder. His body flew backwards like a kite with a broken string, and he collapsed to the ground, his life or death unknown. After this intense exhaustion, the man could no longer hold on. His eyes went dark and he fell heavily. "Your death time has come." A cold reminder sounded while the man was in a daze. Then, the curse symbol on his head strangely turned from black to green. When the man slowly woke up, he found himself in a strange place, surrounded by a strange and oppressive atmosphere. "Humph, a fledgling new god dares to mess up my good deeds." A voice full of tyranny and disdain suddenly sounded. The man was startled and looked in the direction of the sound. He saw a monster as huge as a mountain, staring at him viciously with blood-red eyes, as if it was going to tear him into pieces in the next second and threatening to let him perish in endless pain and despair. However, Before the monster could finish his words, a nightmare flower emitting a mysterious glow suddenly appeared like a ghost and swallowed the monster in an instant. The monster disappeared without a trace before he could even let out a scream. At the same time, the system's mechanical but somewhat joyful prompt sounded happily in the man's ears. Congratulations on successfully completing the task. You are granted the Hua Tua talent. In an instant, a warm and powerful force, like a gurgling stream or a raging river, quickly flowed through the man's limbs and bones. The man just felt comfortable all over, as if he was bathing in the warm spring sun. His body, which had been eroded by the curse and was riddled with holes, instantly recovered and was full of vitality. At the same time, part of the power of piety also quietly merged into his body, making him feel unprecedented fullness and power. In the dark, the leader was like a cold demon, watching all this with cold eyes. His subordinates were trembling with fear and carefully explained to him the reasons for the failure of the mission. After hearing this, the leader frowned. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he ordered coldly, I will give you 4 days to kill all the hunters who are in the way, and be sure to bring the man to me. This man seems to be blessed by the gods, and there are many obstacles. We must eliminate him as soon as possible to avoid more trouble at night. After all these twists and turns, the man returned home, slightly exhausted. As soon as he stepped into the house, a message for help from the soldier Ilua hit his heart like a heavy hammer. It turned out that before this, in order to obtain the powerful force to protect the tribe, Ilo stepped into the warrior's tower with the determination to burn his boats. At this moment, he was facing the first test, Judgment of Rocks. This test required him to clear the pile of rocks in front of him and move them to the second floor. Ilua recalled that after drinking the mysterious potion, his strength had made a qualitative leap. He thought that with this power, he would be able to pass the test smoothly. But things are unpredictable. Just when he was full of confidence, an extremely huge stone, like a meteor falling from the sky, came towards him with the force of thunder. Ilua was unable to dodge and was instantly pinned down by the boulder, unable to move. In desperation, he could only send a distress signal to the man. The man looked at Iluo, who was lying on the ground in a state of disgrace. Anxiety and anger instantly surged in his heart, and he couldn't help but scold loudly. I have repeatedly warned you not to get close to him. At this moment, a rapid knock on the door broke the man's thoughts. He told Ilua not to run around after drinking the life potion, and then ran to open the door while cursing. Standing outside the door was a man who claimed to be Kim Tae-mi, the head of the Shining Hunter Association, and he said he had something important to discuss with the man. At the same time, Ilo, who had recovered, decided to challenge himself again. This time he seemed unusually calm when facing the test. He suddenly punched, and the boulder instantly broke into countless pieces. Even he himself could hardly believe it. From then on, Ilua began his journey to climb the tower. On the other hand, Kim Tae-mi offered a sky-high price of 3 million and asked the man to join the Glorious Hunter Association. Just when the man thought he was about to reach the pinnacle of his life, he found out that this was just the omnipotent enlightenment of the god of Hades. Jean Tae-mi, 34 years old, the Buddha's mouth of the god of destruction. The middle-aged uncle in front of him turned out to be a believer of the god of destruction. The man finally realized that the 3 million was just a bait. So the man politely declined Kim Tae-mi's invitation, but Kim Tae-mi immediately said, the union boss wants to see you. It would be great if you could come. The man reluctantly agreed, but said he had to go to the bathroom first. He was furious. Damn it, why didn't I find out earlier that he was in cahoots with that man from last time? Just as he was struggling, suddenly, there was a loud noise behind him. Who are you looking for? Lu Yixing. The man seemed to be oblivious to the news. He just saved an ant, but he gained an A-level ability, a body of steel, which could even easily kill the followers of the god of destruction. However, facing the lackeys of the god of destruction, the man hesitated whether to inform the hunter. Unfortunately, the next second, there was another loud noise behind him. Who do you want to call? Lu Yiqian. The man stammered and explained that he was calling the editor, but what he got in response was a heavy punch. You don't seem to understand my question, so I'm going to beat you up and then take you away. Before he finished speaking, a big hand tightly grasped the man's neck, and then a feeling of suffocation came over him, and the man felt his consciousness gradually blurred. In the dim light, he saw a message. The mission to save the believers has been created. The reward for saving the believer Cheng Mei's death is Cheng Mei's faith plus 100. The man was shocked. Why did Cheng Mei die? However, the current crisis did not allow him to be distracted. Damn, the power gap is too big. I need power. At this moment, the man heard Iroha's cry, please accept my power. Then, a message popped up. Skill sharing, Ilua has been added. Slave from Ilua, body of steel. A surge of power instantly surged into his heart, and the next second, a strong airflow blew the uncle away. The man's aura burst out instantly, revealing his strong body. It seems that this mission is not as simple as I imagined. Although I don't know whether the Lightning Queen is dead, my mission is to take you back. Come on, let's fight quickly and decisively. Before the man finished speaking, he took the lead in attacking with a punch. The uncle dodged sideways, expecting the man to punch, but he soon realized that the man was just throwing punches randomly. How disappointing. However, the next second, the man hugged the uncle tightly with both hands and hit him with his knee. Before the uncle could react, the man hit him on the head again, knocking the uncle to the ground and unconscious. At this time, the man finally remembered that he had to find Cheng Meiling as soon as possible. However, he received a reminder. Only God's Believer Management System can help you find Cheng Meiling with 1,000 God coins. The man chose yes without hesitation. In an instant, all the information about Cheng Meiling appeared in front of him. In the picture, a man came into view, a sword demon, a male, with superb swordsmanship, while Cheng Meiling had already fallen in a pool of blood. With a slash of the sword, Cheng Meiling was killed on the spot. At this time, a message came. You have foreseen Cheng Meiling's future. These events have not yet happened, but they are about to happen. Do you choose to use God's authority to change the fate of mortals? The man decisively chose yes, but he soon realized that the sword demon was good at using swords, and he also needed a knife. Then the man thought of the knife, the 1,000 blades. Everything was ready, and he set out immediately. The merciful Redeemer would create an amazing miracle. As the golden light shone, countless lights flickered around the man. At the same time, Cheng Meiling was facing death, and a sword energy attacked her. The sword demon asked coldly, "Who is coming?" This sword energy was unexpectedly undetectable to me. The man had a gloomy expression and stared at the sword demon coldly. "I just want to cut you into pieces." He gently swung the snow knife in his hand. This action actually impressed the sword demon so much that he even began to become his fanatical follower. The sword demon thought to himself, "This person is not simple. Facing such a powerful opponent, I can win by relying on my own advantages. But why does this man in front of me look like a fearless wizard?" The man's eyes were empty, and he was holding a fruit knife in his hand. "You underestimate me. You want to challenge me with just a fruit knife?" The sword demon drew his sword and slashed at the man with a giant core. Even an S-level hunter might not be able to withstand this attack. However, the next second, the sword demon was stunned, only to see the man easily blocking his attack with the fruit knife. The sword demon's expression changed. It was his fault for underestimating his opponent's strength. "This time, I must kill you." The sword demon launched another fierce attack, and a fierce sword energy swept over. The man gently raised the tip of the knife and deflected the sword energy. The sword demon's wave after wave of crazy attacks were all blocked by the man one by one. The sword demon was puzzled. "I don't think I have ever seen his appearance. He looks like the wizard that the Lightning Queen mentioned. If he is not from the Hunter Association, I may not know him at all." At this time, the sword demon took out a bottle of potion from his arms. He knew that this potion would consume his life, but he had no choice but to drink it. He drank the potion in one gulp, and a powerful energy quickly filled his body. "Lightning Queen's teacher, come on!" The sword demon shouted and launched an attack. The man swung his sword lightly, easily dodging the sword demon's attack, and then jumped up and flew into the air. Then, a sharp slash came towards the man, and with a loud bang, the man could almost feel the excitement of the battle. Did we finally kill him? But the next second, the sword demon's sword shattered. At this time, a voice came from the fog. "Impossible." He was unharmed by that kind of attack. The man was still standing there, holding the knife and waving it gently in the air. The sword demon had not yet realized what was happening. Suddenly, fear spread rapidly. The sword demon was horrified to see his body torn into pieces. He looked at all this in amazement. "Am I not dead? He could have easily killed me. So why did he let me live? Who is he? Is he the legendary sword god? The sword saint who stands at the end of the sword road, a title that can only be obtained by those who stand at the top." At this moment, a message came, "Rigid body skills sharing. Time has returned to Liu Yisin's original body." In an instant, the man felt like a deflated ball. Thinking of the ferocious face of the sword demon, he couldn't help but slap the knife, wanting to put it down. However, a message popped up. The 1,000 blades of the sword god have become fruit knives due to lack of authority. At the same time, the sword demon immediately knelt on the ground, and the man looked at everything in front of him in astonishment. The sword demon said respectfully, "Can you show me your superb swordsmanship again? For this, I am willing to pay any price, even my life." The man thought he was just a madman, but then a message came. "The sword demon has become your second follower. current status, fanatic. Then they remembered that Chung Miling was still left aside. The sword demon quickly came to her and made her drink a bottle of potion. It was a high-dose life potion. The potion that the sword demon carried with him had a special property. As long as she was not dead, she could be brought back to life by this potion. A golden light shone, and Chung Miling completely recovered. At this time, another message came. Congratulations, you have successfully achieved fanaticism, the terror of faith, and the dignity of God. The sword demon apologized for his behavior. You have successfully completed the follower redemption test. Chung Miling's faith increased by 100, current faith, 139. The man thought to himself, from these damn insects to the current sword demon, how many crises are waiting for me? The sword demon then said, after taking the lightning queen to a safe area, everything will be fine. The man suddenly thought that the sword demon in front of him seemed to be an assassin hired by the Glorious Guild. An idea suddenly came to his mind, and he sneered. Didn't you say you would obey my orders? I now ask you to teach the Glorious Union a lesson. The sword demon was stunned. Why? Can't you do such a small thing? If it is the order of the sword god, I will obey it. It's my turn to fight back. Damn the Union. The man stretched out his thumb and lightly pointed it, and he could summon millions of ant armies. He could even get a perfect clone by just clicking on himself. When the man ordered the sword demon to deal with the Glorious Union, the sword demon was surprised and said, can't you even do such a small thing? If it is the sword god's order, I will obey it. At this time, a message came. The obedience of the fanatical believers has met the conditions for activating the inherent power. Does the value-added god's thumb cost 100 god coins to activate omnipotence? The man fell into deep reverie. Can even gold coins increase in value? However, he decisively pressed the confirmation button. The scene changed, and the man began to search the room. He only found a gold coin. He excitedly tried it with his thumb of God, but there was no reaction. Then, he received a prompt. The thumb of God does not work on food. The man was instantly disappointed. Damn, this is another scam. At this time, the two gods sent a message, saying, don't waste time on these unimportant things. You should deal with those annoying guys first. The man pretended not to hear and muttered, that's true, but how can I become stronger? Afterwards, they expressed their opinions. Feng Zhao believed that men should do more good deeds to accumulate good karma. Silent Nightmare suggested that he carry out a massacre to accumulate bad karma, and Qianren agreed with Silent Nightmare's point of view. After a moment's thought, the man decided to have it both ways, so he headed to the god-making game, where, depending on your actions, you can become a good or evil god. Just as he was about to make a choice, the man suddenly thought that he could increase the strength of the ant army, so he decisively used the thumb of God. The million ant army increased by the god's thumb began to march towards the empire, and the duration was 24 hours. At this time, the man was already immersed in the joy of victory. Suddenly, the termite saint beside him caught his attention. He saw that the saint was using God's healing power. I didn't expect that he could use my skills. She said, see, everyone, this is God's miracle. Let us be reborn under Lu Yisan's protection. At the same time, the number of believers increased, and the man also gained good karma. Although this made him a little unbelievable, he knew that it was thanks to Andy that he gained so many believers. Just then, the editor called and said, why haven't you sent your manuscript yet? If this continues, we'll have to pack up and leave. The man felt a little guilty. I'm very sorry, I have to stop the series due to personal reasons. The editor replied angrily, are you crazy? Stop it before it even starts. The man suddenly thought, what would happen if he used the thumb of God on himself? Out of curiosity, he used the thumb of God on himself. Instantly, a powerful red energy began to gather, and the next second, another Lu Yisan appeared before him. The effect of the thumb of God lasts for 6,666 seconds. The man couldn't help but get excited. It actually worked. Clone, listen, I'm going to write the manuscript, and you go help my ant army. However, before he could finish his words, a slap in the face came towards the man. Before the man could react, the clone shouted angrily, don't give me orders, you damned bastard. Then, he beat me hard. You always do stupid things. You are such a loser. After venting everything, the clone finally felt much better. At the same time, the editor sent a question, but the clone responded mercilessly, get lost. Then, he activated the cruel killer. Now, let's get started. At the same time, the insect army was wantonly attacking the ant army. Faced with such a powerful opponent, the ants were trembling in fear. At this moment, a red light appeared in the sky, and then countless thunders descended, instantly defeating the army of insects. The cruel killer successfully advanced to C rank, and his clone appeared in midair. Is that the legendary evil god? On the other side, the commander of the insect army held the frontline uniform, and all the insects suffered a devastating blow in an instant. You are just an evil force, and you dare to be our enemy. Before he could finish his words, they turned into ashes. At this time, a wasp man was watching all this silently. He immediately summoned Sharon and all the generals. But if we do this, other countries may take advantage of the situation. The most important thing now is to offer the head of the evil god before his majesty arrives. The wasp man slowly walked away. Please forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye. I will use these hands to offer you the head of the evil god. At the same time, the man woke up from his coma. Damn it. I'm invincible now, but I was beaten half to death by a clone. At this time, Feng Rao made a request. Man, introduce us to the clone. The man noticed an email that said, if you insist on violating the contract, you will be required to pay compensation. Then, a message came. The Wanderer of the Termite Kingdom has successfully preached, changed his job to antique, obtained the Captive of the Lawn Kingdom, upgraded various titles, and obtained a large number of white and black divine coins. Your level has been upgraded. The man couldn't help but think, these things are not important now. Damn, what kind of game is this? He just wanted to use two skills at the same time, but ended up being besieged by countless thunders. However, as a gathering trash hunter, he has the power to kill 2 level 1 hunters instantly. Just as the man was complaining about what kind of game this was, he suddenly remembered that he still needed to write. So, he typed frantically on the computer, and at this time, a message came. A new believer rescue mission has appeared. Please save the fanatical believers. Will you save the sword demon? Reward. After successfully saving the fanatical believers, your talent will be improved. Damn it. I'm working now. Let me work in peace for a while. However, the next second, a blue light appeared. Let's take a look at the perspective of fanatics. The man muttered in a low voice. Damn it, I don't want to see it. The scene changed, and the sword demon was imprisoned in a cage. Sword demon, you are really tight-lipped. Jame, who has survived for 26 years, is a member of the Radiant Union and is blessed by the god of destruction to use fire. Damn, what is going on? Did he attack the Union, as I said? The man thought to himself, I didn't expect there's another big guy here. The 31-year-old member of the Glorious Guild was also blessed by the god of destruction and had strong muscles. How should I deal with these two people? At this moment, the omnipotence of Hades took effect, and the man entered the mind of the sword demon. I was trained to be an assassin when I was young. When my ability awakened, I accepted many missions. During these missions, I met 2 brothers and sisters who were also guild assassins. I naturally became their object of competition. I didn't have ordinary dreams like others. In order to become stronger, I embarked on the path of swordsmanship, where man and sword become one. It wasn't until I met that man that I realized how insignificant I was. He was what I wanted to be, but that's all I could do. At the same time, the big guy was shouting that he wanted to kill the sword demon. However, Pastor John is willing to pay a high price to buy him and use him as a sacrifice. If you stop me, I will get rid of you as well. The man frowned. I think it's a pity. Sword God, I'm sorry for you. The man thought to himself, damn it, I have to find a way to save him now. He decisively used the ability of the number 1 disciple, Steel. Just as his fist was about to swing down, the man moved instantly and successfully saved the sword demon. Who are you? Why are you here? You don't need to know that. I'm in a hurry now. The man decided to use the Steel State and Chung Miling's lightning skills to defeat the enemy in one fell swoop. However, the next second, the system prompt popped up. Insufficient divine power, cannot use 2 skills at the same time, skills enter overload state. What followed was a burst of thunder that instantly hit the man, but the big guy was already extremely angry at this time, and he attacked the man with a right leg attack, hitting him hard. However, the next second, all the thunder was instantly transferred to the big guy, who was struck by lightning and fell to the ground and died. Damn, I almost died. You actually hurt my brother. Jame exhaled angrily and attacked the man. The man barely resisted her attack. Am I going to die here? At this time, a message came. You can use the steel skill to resist the flames. The man smiled and said, can we finally kill that guy? He stood there unscathed. I didn't expect steel to have this effect. Another wave of flames came, and the man easily dispersed the flames with a knife. It seems that this ant has been trained well. The steel sharing time just ended. If it ended earlier, I would probably be roasted into charcoal. The man began to imagine whether he could get a reward, but silence followed. Damn it, I shouldn't have believed in that crappy game. Just as they were about to leave, a voice came. What a wonderful battle. Please be careful, Sword God. He is the mastermind behind the whole incident, Pastor John. The man was shocked. Is this guy crazy? Just by extending your thumb, you can get a perfect clone. If you extend your middle finger, it will shake the whole continent. Looking at Pastor John's message, the man felt puzzled. He is actually the one in charge of the sacrifice to the god of destruction. Even I can't see through his ability. It seems I have to be careful. Pastor John finally saw the man and seemed very happy. He wanted to give him a hug, but was stopped by the sword demon. It's the sword demon? Please don't get close to the sword god. Pastor John raised his hand and slapped the sword demon away. It's unbelievable that the sword demon who was able to defeat the lightning queen is so weak in front of me. Whose apostle are you? The man murmured in a low voice. Which god are you talking about? Then, without hesitation, the man swung his fist and hit John hard in the face. At the same time, Lord Arak whispered, "Please forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye. I will defeat that evil angel. If his followers decrease, his power will be greatly reduced." After that, he quickly moved towards the termite tribe and launched an attack. In an instant, countless bee venom filled the air above the tribe. On the other side, the man knocked John down with one punch. John was electrocuted and burnt on the outside and tender on the inside. The man breathed a sigh of relief and thought, "It is right to strike first." However, John stood up again in a strange posture, which frightened the man so much that his hair stood on end. The man used lightning attack again. This should be okay, right? But John still stood up. It seems that the lightning skill is useless to him. The man thought to himself, "Is he unkillable? No matter what attack you use, I can regenerate it," John said with a sneer. The man thought anxiously, "Damn it, the steel skill just ended, and the lightning skill can no longer be used. Even if it can be used, these skills will have no effect on him. Am I going to die in his hands?" he thought indignantly. John looked at the man coldly. "Is this all you have? I am really disappointed." The man was furious. "Damn it, I have to think of a way." Suddenly, he had an idea and decided to use the thumb of God on himself again. As the thumb of God was used, a clone appeared in front of the man. When facing an enemy, he shouldn't attack me, right? The man thought in a low voice. The clone looked at the man coldly, recalling the last time he was ordered to beat him up. This time, he decided to remain silent. "We're in trouble." The clone sighed. "Since you know we're in trouble, you have to do something." The man asked back dissatisfiedly. "I mean that the termite tribe is in crisis. Don't you know that the death of believers will make you lose power?" The man was furious. "Damn it, you dare to ignore me." At this moment, John suddenly launched an attack. The two men quickly dodged, but the man still took the attack. "Damn, if I die, won't all my powers disappear? Hey, Louison, burn this guy to death." The man was stunned. The clone quickly accessed the man's phone. "Is this the end? Damn it, what should I do?" Just as John was about to launch another attack, the man suddenly remembered the divine middle finger he had used before. "Yes, I still have this skill." He was delighted and immediately extended his middle finger, which immediately severely injured the immortal John and made him fall on the spot. John was completely unaware at this moment that the man's attack was from the omnipotence of God. Just now, the man suddenly remembered that he had another skill, God's middle finger. He launched an attack, but the next second, he was stunned. The flame in his hand was extremely weak. "Damn, what can such a small flame do?" He cursed in his heart. "Is this your last joke?" Then, John approached the man step by step, and the man decided to use the thumb of God. Instantly, countless flames attacked John. "Is that all you can do?" John laughed contemptuously. "It seems I don't need to play with you anymore." Then, John began to gather great strength. The man thought anxiously, "Am I going to die here? I didn't expect that I would be killed by a madman in the end." However, the next second, John covered his wound and wondered to himself, "Why didn't my wound regenerate?" A message came. "He is being burned by the fire of hell." The man was shocked. "I didn't expect that fire could have such an effect." But John endured the pain and launched a fierce attack on the man, enveloping him in countless purple lightning bolts. At the same time, the termite tribe was being eroded by bee venom, and believers fell to the ground one after another. If you want to blame someone, just blame it on your belief in that evil god. At this moment, a figure caught the man's attention. The man flew straight towards him. It turned out to be the evil god. "You are finally here, evil god. You will die here today." Before he could finish his words, his clone attacked with a punch, knocking the evil god into thin air. The man watched the believers falling to the ground. Are they all dead? On the other side, the man who received the skill felt severe pain all over his body. A message came. The number of believers is decreasing rapidly. Warning: if you lose a large number of believers at once, you will lose all your power. Damn, This is terrible. Do you wish to use God's ring finger to resurrect dead believers? Resurrection will consume the same amount of divine power as the number of believers. 5.2 million divine powers? Wait, can God's ring finger also heal itself? An idea suddenly occurred to the man. If this is possible, then can I be immortal? The man used his ring finger on himself without hesitation, and in an instant, the man's body recovered. It costs 10 million divine coins to heal yourself? Wait, why is it more expensive to heal yourself than to heal your followers? But no matter what, I'm lucky to be alive. The man decisively resurrected all the dead believers and gained divine power equal to the number of believers. This is really great. However, John suddenly attacked the man, and the man used his iron skill to take the blow. The situation has changed now. The man said coldly, "You lunatic." Then, the man used God's middle finger, and countless flames rushed towards John, but John dodged sideways and easily resolved the flame attack. "You are such an amazing apostle. I thought you were a useless piece of trash. During this period of time, I have offered 999 sacrifices, and you will be my last sacrifice." The man was shocked. "The priest of the god of destruction? Did you kidnap the sword demon to lure me?" John raised his hand and pointed to the sky. "Thank you for being my last sacrifice." The next second, a huge eye appeared before his eyes. "Is this the god of destruction?" The man was anxious. "Damn it, I must stop him." The man immediately used the index finger of God, but the system prompted, "This skill cannot be effective against the god of destruction." At this moment, John fell to the ground in pain. "This is not an agreement between us." The god of destruction appeared, killing John instantly, and then attacked the man. "Is this the end for me?" However, the man fell into a dream, in which he was a powerful and benevolent god, worshipped as a god by everyone. Although he only had a small knife in his hand, that knife could cut everything. Unfortunately, he was betrayed by the abyss, lost the girl he loved, lost the world, and finally lost himself. The man was once an angel of peace, but now he has become the embodiment of revenge. In the end, the god of destruction he fought desperately to kill was only 1% of his original body. Just now, a huge heavy sword suddenly appeared in front of the man. It stood quietly, as if waiting for its master's call. The man looked at the sword demon coldly, motioning him to stay where he was. "You have to watch carefully. Today, I will personally kill the god of destruction." At the same time, the god of destruction was launching indiscriminate attacks. The sword demon wanted to step forward to protect the man, but faced with the scene in front of him, he was so frightened that he could not move. However, the man did not panic. He signaled the sword demon not to take action and asked him to stay where he was. Suddenly, John's cry for help came from the side. The god of destruction grabbed John and said coldly, "How can you eat those who serve you?" John pleaded in disbelief. "Do you understand? The god of destruction you serve is nothing but an evil god." The god of destruction destroyed John with just one look. But the man was not afraid. He summoned a giant sword and whispered, "The authority of the sword." This was the omnipotence given to him by the Skyblade. The god of destruction looked at the man in shock. With a roar from the man, a fierce slash fell like thunder. "Damn god of destruction, get out of my world right now." A powerful energy burst out, and in an instant, the god of destruction was killed, and the surrounding environment was razed to the ground. After a while, the association intervened to investigate, and they found that there was a lingering aura of a 3S-level monster. If this is the aura of a 3S-level monster, the entire country will be razed to the ground. The president of the association saw the skinny John and asked curiously, "What happened here?" John just smiled foolishly. In that battle, he finally understood that Liu Yisan was the real god. At the same time, S-level hunter Chung Mena easily killed a dragon. "I didn't expect it to be so easy. Are you really only S-level?" However, Chung Mena only asked the dragon for the teleportation stone. "Damn, such a small dragon actually asked me to come here. What a waste of my time." Then, she disappeared in the blue light. On the other side, the man's body was covered with plasters. Fortunately, he had the heavenly sword to stop the counterattack of the god of destruction. At this moment, the niece asked curiously, "Who is that man?" The sword demon squatted beside him with a serious face, and then he bowed to the man and said, "Sword god, what can I do for you?" The man replied helplessly, "Don't you need to go home?" The sword demon said, "You repaired the toilet door, didn't you?" "Yes, sword god." The sword demon whispered, "I can't tolerate it." Sword god's doubled spirit rings, "You are really fanatical." The man recalled the last mission he had given to sword demon. "The remnants of the glorious union don't need my involvement at all. because the Hunter Association has already sent out S-level hunters led by Chung Mena to encircle and eliminate the Union. Suddenly, the man remembered that he had to go to the hospital to visit the patient. If you can use the healing power, try to heal him. At this time, a message came. The god's performance accounting is completed. You have successfully prevented 1% of the god of destruction from coming to Earth. The man was immediately surprised. A reward of 10 million for good deeds? Such a huge reward was given. But that is only 1%. How powerful is the god of destruction? Then, another message came. Congratulations, Lu Yisun. You have completed God's great work and obtained the task of upgrading your level. A lower-level good god must gain 1 billion ordinary believers, or gain 10s level or higher beings as believers. A lower-level evil god must kill 1 billion beings and gain evil karma, or kill 10s level or higher beings and gain their power. The man was shocked. Does this mean that I have to be promoted to both a good god and an evil god at the same time? This is too difficult. The man pondered for a moment. An S-level hunter can make an A-level hunter fall to his knees with just a glance, but he has no effect on a giant-level hunter like me. The man sneered. It seems I have to be careful. At this point, Pastor John apologized for his disrespectful behavior. This is so rude, Sword God. Please forgive me. Just now, facing such a difficult promotion task, the man fell into deep thought. Although I want to become stronger, how can I complete so many tasks? After a moment, an idea suddenly occurred to him. If I let the good god and the evil god compete with each other, I can reap the benefits. What a genius. Those guys start fighting. The scene changes, and the man comes to the hospital to visit Chung Miling. However, he sees Chung Miling concentrating on exercising. When Chung Miling saw the man, she seemed particularly happy. Aren't you injured? How can you still exercise? Chung Miling explained. I was so bored and wanted to find something to do, but my body has fully recovered. As he spoke, he was about to untie the bandage and let the man see it. But at this moment, a woman came in, quickly stopped Chung Miling's action, and slapped her. The man wondered, who is this woman? Why did she suddenly appear here? The woman began to scold Chung Miling. Then she turned to the man and asked sternly, who are you and why are you here? If you dare to play with my sister, I will kill you. Chung Miling quickly explained, he is my teacher. The man was about to explain, but Chung Miling hinted not to tell the truth, so he said casually, I'm just a physical education teacher. The woman sneered. Physical education teacher? He doesn't look that good, but he is definitely stronger than my sister. The woman took off her hat and stared at the man. It seems that after your strength rose to A level, you became arrogant. As soon as the words fell, the woman suddenly launched an attack, and a powerful thought rushed towards Chung Miling. Chung Miling immediately fell to her knees. You just have to do what I say. The man hurried forward to dissuade her, but the woman yelled, the patient should be quiet. The man was not affected at all. He smiled and replied, psychic attacks have no effect on me. It turns out that Chung Mena is a spiritual hunter. No wonder her attacks didn't work on you. The woman suddenly apologized to the man. I'm sorry, Sword God. I shouldn't be so impulsive. At this time, Chung Miling sent a message. Chung Mena, survived for 24 years, was once a follower of the god of destruction, and fell into the curse of hell. The man asked curiously, do you feel uncomfortable somewhere? Is it the curse of hell? Chung Mena replied, I have a curse called hell, but how did you know? The man smiled. That's because I have a special skill. Chung Mena said goodbye to them. I didn't expect that the S-level hunters would be so powerful. I'm afraid it will be very difficult for me to convince them to be the token of trust. The man then motioned Chung Miling to go to the roof. The scene turns to Chung Miling's spiritual world, and the man is lost in thought. Even if I use my omnipotence, there will be no change? I have grown a lot in that battle, but even my current self can't do anything. He said to himself, as long as this seal is unlocked, Chung Miling can be promoted to S-level. But I can't do it. Suddenly, a message window popped up. Chung Miling, Lu Yisun's first believer, a sealed S-level hunter. Note, part of the energy is sealed. The man suddenly realized. So this is why I can't lift the seal. He concentrated his mind and prepared to break Chung Miling's seal in one go. However, another message came, which made the man understand completely. Do you know where your sister is now? I plan to have a good talk with her. The man was shocked. My sister is actually a believer of the god of destruction? At this moment, he recalled the mysterious person Chung Miling had mentioned. That person turned out to be Chung Miling's sister. The scene switches to the sea, where John is reflecting on what he has done. I gave everything to the god of destruction, but he wants to devour me. That's simply evil. Unlike Lu Yisun, he is a true angel. Thanks to his appearance, the world has not been destroyed. Please don't forgive me for what I have done. Please allow me to confess to you, the great and holy one. At this moment, a message came. Due to your sincere confession, you have developed faith in Liu Yisin. Thank you, Liu Yisin can accept the confession from sinful believers. Then, a figure appeared behind him. Did you mention Liu Yisin just now? The man looked back and said, Who are you? Why are you here? Only people above S rank can enter here. He was immediately confused. Could it be that the top leaders of the association are planning to give up on me? I heard that they have always envied me. He continued, I know I killed a lot of people. Are these measures taken to calm the public anger? Although he was no longer a believer in the god of destruction, he was still full of murderous intent. I can still kill you. The other party gently raised his right hand. Don't be ridiculous. It seems that you haven't fallen into the abyss either. She said coldly, but I still can't forgive you. You once tried to kill my sister, Meili. As soon as she finished speaking, John fell to the ground. The scene changed, and the man was distressed that he had not been able to see Cheng Mailing. However, the sudden farewell of the sword demon a few days ago made him feel a little relieved. At the same time, a message came. John changed from a believer of the god of destruction to a believer of Liu Yisin. John became a fanatical believer of Liu Yisin. Then came the progress of the task completion. Current number of believers, 5.2 million, and one S-level believer was obtained. The man was stunned that John is actually an S-level hunter. Although he didn't know what happened, he was delighted to have gained so many believers. Great. However, the next second, news came that John had been killed. The man was stunned. Why did he die so suddenly? Then, the system prompted. All the power possessed by the fanatical believers belongs to the gods. After the believers sacrifice themselves, the gods will absorb all their power. The warning that follows. Warning. Accepting power will cause extreme pain throughout the body. Countless energies poured into the man's body, and after a moment, the man absorbed all of John's power. Damn, it seems that John is really dead. At the same time, the news reported that John had died in prison. Although John died, the progress of my mission was not affected at all. The man thought deeply, I should do something. Now I should be able to become an excellent hunter and gain fame and wealth. But he immediately shook his head. These are not what I really want. At this moment, the man suddenly remembered that he was still a writer. This is what I really want to do. But when he posted his autobiography online, he was ridiculed by netizens. I shouldn't have been a writer, the man said in frustration. Just as he was in distress, there was a hurried knock on the door. The man thought it was the sword demon who came back and was about to teach him a lesson, but when the door opened, it was Cheng Mailing who came into his sight. Cheng Mailing immediately knelt down and said, Teacher, can I ask you for a favor? Cheng Mailing went on to explain, the famous S-level hunter Cui Kong Shan was able to kill an S-level monster with one strike, but now he was scared by the gathering of men and fled through the window. The man was slightly surprised. Is this all because of the nightmare flower? Cheng Mailing continued, I beg you to help me. The man looked at Cheng Mailing's desperate plea and finally agreed to her request. Instantly, a message came from the system. Cheng Mailing's faith increased by 10%. The man was puzzled. I just agreed to her request, but I can get 10 points of faith? But is this really okay? I always feel that something bad will happen. The scene changed. Cheng Mailing looked at the man and said softly, So, today I will be your guardian instead of my sister, right? The man nodded. Yes. But why not invite your sister? The man was about to explain, but suddenly he understood the reason. Then, Cheng Mailing looked at the man and smiled. Teacher, the suit really suits you, but why do you always wear sportswear? The man was a little puzzled, because there is only one suit. Cheng Mailing obviously cares a lot about men's clothes. Then I decided to buy you a set of branded sportswear, so that you can better show your handsomeness. The man was stunned. It seems that Cheng Mailing is as fanatical as other believers. A moment later, they arrived at the hunter school, but were stopped on the spot by a teacher. After Cheng Mailing's explanation, the teacher suddenly realized and apologized to the man. Since you and Cheng Mailing have the same bloodline, you must be very talented, right? The man smiled and said, No, I'm just an ordinary person. As the conversation continued, Cheng Mailing suddenly interrupted their conversation. At the same time, the principal looked at the beast horns on the wall and fell into deep thought. Time really spares no one. Whenever S-level monsters appeared in the city, I always stood up and killed them with one punch. I wanted to work hard and enjoy my retirement, but since I met that guy, my world has completely changed. Since then, people have started calling me the cleaner Cui Kongshan. Now, training a new generation of hunters is what I should do. The principal is well aware that Cheng Mailing's strength is increasing rapidly, and his true identity is only known to the top brass. The most important thing is that Cheng Mailing must grow regularly, and this is also the correct growth direction he must impart at today's meeting. At the same time, the man, led by the teacher, came to the principal's office and they exchanged a brief greeting. However, when the man raised his head, the principal also suddenly recognized him. "Aren't you the drunk homeless man that day?" The S-level hunter known as the cleaner, Chui Kongshan. This instantly brought the principal's memory back to that day, the horror of being dominated by the nightmare flower. He immediately went into defensive mode. "Don't come over. I can kill an ordinary person with one punch." The man didn't realize what was happening. He just wanted to say hello to the principal. Seeing this, Chung Miling immediately stopped them, but the principal was extremely panicked. He had no idea when the monster would appear. The man raised his right hand and said calmly, "You have to return the large bill I gave you earlier." The principal was so frightened that he broke the window and fled, then disappeared from the scene, leaving the man standing there in a daze. What on earth is going on?